Preparing to say farewell to 2025 and welcome 2026, this Shishi Mai Lion Dancer type dances to a festive tune to welcome the new year. This is SSM00 Maimai-Shi, with a mostly new kit of Void Shot, Shake Shot, Purify, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Lead Foot, which buffs heating and cooling when attacking and breaking parts on the enemy side. Now, to officially welcome 2026, you really can't get much more festive than a Lion Dancer, and this model here, designed by the legendary Mr. Tagro, most certainly doesn't disappoint, with a kit that's designed to keep her light on her feet, lighter with the attacks, and even faster the longer the dance continues, and even more festive the longer it continues, and the longer she's allowed to fight. Void Shot on the head part is a shooting skill that kind of serves as an antithesis to any kind of gravity skill you bring to the table. While things like Break, Press, Break Rush, and so on will focus on the number of heavy parts the enemy has equipped, Void Shot instead scales with the fewer heavy parts the enemy has. So if they have, say, one or none, you're definitely going to be seeing a lot of bonus damage on there, whereas if they're only packing two or more to maximum heavy, you probably won't be seeing too much of a scale damage bonus from there. So this is mostly going to serve as a very good counter for things that like to stay lightweight, such as high mobility and high agility biped types, flight or sea legs, which tend to typically have either 1 or even a 0 heavy limit anyway. This is going to be a very good way to serve as a counter for those. And given the fact it has an astounding success rate of 1733, this is most likely going to never miss. And if it does miss, I'd say you better go get yourself a lottery ticket, because a success that high means that it's going to be a blue moon if anything manages to dodge that powerful Lion Beam. Shake Shot on the right arm is a brand new shooting skill being introduced into the game, which, simply explained, is just a shooting version of the skill Shake, which was previously and currently still is collaboration only from Volume 2 of the Full Metal Panic collaboration. But to explain, Shake Shot will inflict a stack of confusion on the enemy, which means that they cannot choose their own target or their own skill for the next 3 turns or until attacked, and it also has a blowaway effect, which means it'll be very good in the ability of ground control and crowd control, of keeping enemies away from Maimai-Shi at any given point, or even helping kind of stall any enemy heating phases if you're able to properly time it. Purify, on the other hand, is a brand new healing skill to the game, which actually is something completely new in what it brings to the table and how it behaves. Simply explained, it is stat cleanse, which will negate all negative symptoms applied to an ally and allow them to remove any that are currently in play. And on top of that, it will also include a stack of High Guard to the ally in question, which is an astounding 80% boost to the ally's resist stats, making them a whole lot more resistant to keeping that damage as low as possible. The only real catches to Purify is the fact that it does not apply party-wide, much like standard High Guard metaphors or Stat Cleanse does. Instead, you can only apply it to one ally at a time, and a 1-turn cooldown is required before you can do it again. Now, this is not exactly a weakness or a flaw, because in the right circumstances, you can juggle this fairly easily, especially given that it has an impressive heating of almost 1200 by itself. But it does mean that you have to stagger its use, and if you're fighting someone that's using negative ailments, that might put you in a bit of a bind depending on how you can accurately and efficiently juggle it. Biped legs means that Maimai-Shi will have very solid coverage across most terrains with fairly decent terrain compatibility, and her leg stats are honestly pretty solid too with what she brings to the table. A base mobility of 887 will start this dancer off on a very festive foot with no real assistance required from terrain or marauders. An evade of 1101 isn't too shabby either, as this means she can dodge or graze pretty much as needed. A melee resist to 10-12 and a shoot resist to 16-12 are both really nice in that middle range zone that you want to sit in as far as your damage reduction is concerned. In the armor department, she is fairly bulky with a head armor of just barely 4,200, arms about mid 3,600s each, and legs just over 4,000, which means that a lot of her bulk is going to be focusing more with her head and her arms. So try to keep those legs as healthy as possible and at any given point while she's on the field. However, her heating and cooling is also exceptionally impressive across the board too. While Void Shot in the main form of her damage does have fairly middle heating cooling in mid to high 500s, Shake Shot having a high 800s and high 500s for heating and cooling, and Purify in the upper thousands is very, very impressive. And anytime that she breaks something when attacking, these only go up, making her progressively faster the more aggressive she becomes. All this being said, though, as a pure set score, I do have to rate Maimai-Shi kind of a middle ground 6.5 out of 10. While she's not terrible in what she brings to the table, she is a little scattered with how she does it, with being able to use Shake Shot and Purify kind of in an on or off stance as you need, and even starting up the fight with Void Shot will put you off on a pretty good foot if you're able to nuke anything that's either high speed or lightweight immediately. But given the fact that Purify, as useful as it is, can only be applied to one enemy at once, and requires a one-turn cooldown, does make it a little tricky to juggle. And Shake Shot having blow away with crowd control does mean that it has a risk to it in terms of how often you use it and when you use it, in terms of accidentally accelerating an enemy's cooldown or even progressively stalling an enemy's heating if used correctly. As mixed parts, I do have to rate her higher at a 7.5 out of 10. Because while her kit as a pure set is a little weird, you can definitely make use of these in different scenarios. Lead Foot will be basically good anywhere that you can break things very quickly and very consistently. Purify will be very good if you are able to juggle its Stat Cleanse, High Guard, one ally per use very efficiently. But Shake Shot and Void Shot you can definitely put to good use as basically anywhere, fairly consistently relative to how you need to build performance.